Peter. What do you know about Peter? His name formerly was Cephas. The Lord changed it to Petros, which means the rock. Have you ever seen, in fact it was just on last night, have you ever seen that movie Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade?
Yeah.
Did you watch it last night? It was on last night. At the end of the movie where they find the chalice of Christ and all that, they go into a little city carved in the stone. The name of that city actually is Petros, named after Peter the Apostle, who went into that area to preach to those people down there. It's now modern day Jordan is what it is, but in those days it was Moab. Anyway, that city's name is Petros, the little city at the end of the Crescent Moon Canyon there. So that doesn't mean anything, I'm just telling you. Petros means the rock. They named it the rock because he preached down there, and it's literally, the city is carved right into the rock. You can go in there. Now they don't have all the things that Indiana Jones had in there, but you can go in there and it's a city and all that. So it meant the rock, or that which is solid in its foundation.
I thought they had destroyed it.
It's still there.
It's still there?
Yep. Well, it was in 1980 when I was there. They may have destroyed it now.
I think I've heard a couple of years ago when the ISIS or whatever, that was the first thing that they actually kind of brought back.
They may have, I don't know.
Because I read on the newspaper it was one of the places where Indiana Jones movie was actually filmed.
Well, fortunately for Petros, if you look at the country of Jordan, this is the Jordan River there. Petros is way down here. There's the crescent moon, and Petros is at the end of that crescent moon. Way down here in the country. Amman, which is the capital, is up here, and all the trouble is really right along the border here. That's kind of an outcast sort of place. It's in the middle of a nothing. And so it's kind of protected in that sense. To destroy that, you would have to make a deliberate motion to get out there and blow it up.
It was destroying the factory from that.
But which is really stupid because there's nothing else out there. Nothing. I mean, it is literally a lifeless desert. The whole country is. The only reason Amman exists is because they pipe water down from Syria. So there's no water in Jordan at all, none, zero. Except for the little bit of the Jordan River that flows along their western border. So, anyway, what else you know about Peter?
I know that he wasn't a very nice guy before he became.
He wasn't a nice guy. Are you kidding me?
Before he became.
No, he wasn't. He was impetuous. Peter was impetuous. He was the leap before you look kind of guy. Peter was the, shoot first, we'll ask questions later. And everything he did, 99% of the time, was incorrect. It was the kind of decisions where afterward you'd say to yourself, man, I wish I hadn't said that. Man, I wish I hadn't done that. Man, I wish I hadn't. He was about as weak a decision maker as ever there was. And 99% of the time, he was wrong. One time he was right. One crucial, critical time. Anybody remember when that was?
You're the Christ.
Exactly. When Jesus said, "Who do you say that I am?" And Peter finally stepped up. After 99 strikeouts, he finally stepped up to the bat and up to the plate and hit it out of the park. He said, "You are the Christ." And Jesus said, C-H-R-I-S-T, Jesus said to him, "You have not said this of your own ability, of your own volition, but the Father in heaven has told you who I am." So God obviously put the stamp on Peter and said, now we can use you. What are you guys doing? Quiche. Little crazy quiches. But this is the one time he was right. And Jesus asked him a second question. He said, "Are you going to leave me also?" And Peter, this time, in somewhat of the perfect diplomatic answer, said, "Where would we go?" You know, where would we go? You have the words of life. And that's when Peter said, "Well done." Jesus said to Peter, "Well done." And turbans and whatever they were wearing. Sister Teresa came out with one of two of her saris, because that's all she had to wear, and it was held up over her shoulder by a safety pin. And she spoke to this assembly, heads of states, the most powerful people in the country, in the world, Anyway, to make a long story short, when it was over, somebody asked Sister Teresa if she was discouraged because of so many failures in her ministry and her lack of successes. And her answer to him was, God didn't call me to a ministry of success. He called me to a ministry of service. And I will service these people regardless of the fact they're dying, impoverished and diseased and cast out and, literally left alone to die. I will minister to them because God's called me to a ministry of service, not to a ministry of success. That's the Spirit of God. That's Jesus identifying her, not the world. The world says, be successful. Have the biggest church. Have the biggest ministry. Get on TV. Blink your eyes a lot. Collect billions of dollars. That's what the world tells you. Because then you'll be a powerful, influential individual. What about her? What about her? You know the day she died, Mother Teresa died, you know who else died that day? Come on, you guys know that. You don't know that? I'm embarrassed. Princess Diana in England.
Oh, really?
Same day. Princess Diana got killed in a car crash because I guess they were racing away from paparazzi or something. I'm not sure. She got killed. Sister Teresa quietly passed in the arms of God. For the next 36 months, all you heard about was Diana this, Diana that. Oh, one wonderful Diana, who actually did very little on this planet, other than the fact she was the Princess of England. Now, barely a word about Sister Teresa, Mother Teresa. Barely a word. And she had spent, 70 years in a little nothing ministry, a hellhole over in Calcutta, India. One of the worst places in the world for poverty, sickness, disease. 70 years there. Princess Diana was princess what? 10, 12 years? Lived a life of luxury and, traveled about with all the heads of state and, waved in the parades. Are you disappointed that you don't have more successes? Well, you know what? Jesus said to love like he loved. Let's look at Jesus' ministry. Was he really a success? Well, in worldly standards, he was a disaster. He spoke to millions, but he discipled only 11. One betrayed him. And of the 11, most of them were knuckleheads who couldn't get it right if they needed to. He wrote no books, he wrote no papers, he published no documents, he wrote no songs, he painted no pictures. Jesus really did nothing. Well, he did walk on water. That was good, too. He did feed 5,000. Well, that was pretty good, too. Healed lepers, gave sight back to the blind, healed the deaf, the dumb, made the lame walk. He even healed Peter's mother-in-law. Sure, that was a favor appreciated. Oh, yeah, and then there's that getting out of the grave thing. How cool was that? I asked you this question before, I ask it again. Which person did Jesus never attend to? Nobody. Anybody and everybody that came before Jesus Christ was, I believe, in his mind, the most important person in the world. Nobody passed his notice. Nobody slipped from his care. He drove no one away. And his successes by worldly standards were nil, none. But then again, God didn't send him for a service of success, a ministry of success. He sent him for a ministry of service. You know what I would like to see if I could go back in time and view any one thing in the Bible? You know what I would do? What I'd choose? What would y'all choose? What would you choose? If you could go back to biblical days and witness, actually be present for anything Jesus did, what would it be?
Resurrection.
Resurrection? That's a good one.
I would have to think. I can't.
You know what I'd like to see? When Jesus was on his hands and knees washing the feet of the other guys. That mighty holy crowd sitting around that little table all thinking they're right on the money. And Jesus, and even then Peter screwed up again. Jesus came to wash his feet. Peter said, "You'll not wash my feet." Jesus said, "You still don't get it, you big lummox. If I don't wash your feet, if I don't assert myself and define your life, you will have no part of me whatsoever." And then, of course, Jesus again, always wrong. "Well, then wash my hands, my face, my head." He goes, "No, no, no. You're overthinking it again. This is not a commodity. Give me 3 gallons of spirit to go." This is not a commodity like you deal with gold and all that stuff in the world. The Spirit of God is not a commodity. The Spirit of God can take the faith of an individual and make it the size of a mustard seed, and yet it can blossom into the biggest tree on the earth. If you have the faith of a mustard seed, you could tell that mountain be gone, and it would be gone. This is not a commodity to be bought, sold, traded, or put away in a sack. It is the presence of God. It is the presence of God. Peter, you just keep getting it wrong. Well, folks, that's what 1 Peter is all about. He is going to encourage people who are, at that time, under tremendous persecution from the world, from Rome, from everywhere. Telling them that, to believe in Jesus is a one-way ticket to the Colosseum. One-way ticket to death. And that death, a horrible death. So you should abandon it. And many were falling away. They were saying, "Oh, I'm not a Christian, no way." And Jesus said this would happen. He says, "Many will deny me to save their souls. But if they save themselves, their souls are lost. But if they lose themselves for me, they'll be preserved forever." So this is the tension. And Peter knew it well, but on the wrong side. Everything Peter did was according to life and circumstance to try and get ahead on his own muscle, never realizing he wasn't called to a ministry of success. He was called to a ministry of service. All of Jesus' life represented service. Not publishing, not painting, not singing. Service. Mission is what we call it. That's a true faith. You know about God, you know what God wants, you know what you can do, and you decide to do it. And when you do it, regardless of how small, Jesus said you won't give a cup of cold water to a little boy that goes unnoticed. When you do it, your life, your Christianity, the presence of God becomes as evident in you as that tree with the orange circles on it is in life. That's an orange tree. It's defined as an orange tree, and you can see it as an orange tree. Can we see Christians that clearly? Can we see lovers of Jesus that clearly? Can we see men and women in mission that clearly as we see that orange tree 100 yards away? Well, if we can't, then that's what we need to strive for. We need to become those kind of people. James, brother of Jesus, wrote the same thing. Faith without works is dead. It's worthless. Bury it. Faith without works. Knowing about God is not enough. You have to decidedly choose your life to live and to evidence God. That's a mature faith. Okay, Peter's going to start that. Oh, what time we got? Anybody going to watch? I don't have a watch.
It's 10:43.
Okay, well, we'll wrap it up here today. We'll let you go get some coffee. But next week we'll read this first chapter and we'll start from there. The last thing I'd have to say about this is when Peter writes this understanding of what faith should be, and he would know it because he didn't come from that perspective. He came from the wrong way. So when Peter writes this, he says, take care to develop this quickly. Because, what is that? Oh, take care to develop this as quickly as possible because literally, Peter says, it's for a limited time only. You know, order now. Limited time only. Because, life is very short. We're not guaranteed tomorrow. Jesus said, you worry about today. That's what you got. You can't do anything about yesterday. And you're not promised tomorrow. So where ought you to be? Well, you ought to be today. And what should you be doing today? Striving to make this decision right here. This is the only thing important on this earth. Whether you become a doctor, doesn't make any difference. Whether you become a teacher, doesn't make any difference. Or a priest or a nun, doesn't make any difference. Whether you're a fisherman, doesn't make any difference. What makes a difference is when Jesus says, I know mine and they know me. That's the difference right there. I know mine and they know me. That's the only decision that matters in your life from birth until death. The Bible says as long as you have breath, you have an opportunity to make this decision. But when that breath runs out, the decision is made for you. If you haven't made it for Christ by that time, you're definitely going to make it against Christ at that time. Okay? All right, next week we'll get into 1 Peter. I had to give you some background work. Otherwise, it's just another book, about faith. But if you understand where he's coming from and how he got it wrong most of the time until finally he did get it right, he was very strong in his right. You see what I'm saying? You do something wrong so many times and finally you figure it out. How convinced are you going to be when you figure it out? You're going to be real right then. Because you've done it every wrong way. All right? That's it. Go away.